Hi, Dan with ReadyLIFT, and I'm here with head engineer extraordinaire Trevor. Now, when we launched our 2019 GM 1500 kits, we intentionally did not include the Trail Boss and AT4 because we hadn't had a chance to explore them to know what was different. And we know some people are using our regular model kits on these AT4s and Trail Bosses, but we got one in. Trevor's torn it apart. And what have we learned so far about the difference between the regular F-150 or 1500 rather, and the Trail Boss edition?
Well, we've all seen them on social media. Everyone's doing it. To start off with that, I mean, they fit. Is it right? We've learned it's not. And what GM has done, they've actually replaced the strut completely. It's completely different. It's a ½ inch longer. They've added factory preload, so it gives you a little bit more aggressive ride, a little bit more height. That's where they're getting their 2 inches out of it. It's not necessarily the safest way to do it, and that's what people are choosing to not listen to. And that's what kind of we want to get through to people and realize, hey, this is not safe, and there's a lot of reasons why, and it's not just the strut. So the first thing, actually, here this is a control arm off of a level truck like this, and you can see right away that there's a torn boot. This is just driving it for a mile or two, just down the street.
So by the factory taking their 2 inches, and then people are adding an additional 2 inch of leveling kit,
right? You're
creating a bind here.
So if you think of it this way, it's over a factory truck or a non-factory lifted truck. This is really a 3 3/4 to 4 inch lift. So you really do need a control arm. So when you're putting these leveling kits on, you see these guys just running it with a factory arm, it's potentially, it could be devastating. That's one of the main things we noticed right away when we got the truck up in the air.
Cool. So we know we have a popular 2 inch leveling kit for the standard non-AT4, and we have our 3940 SST kit. So what are we going to do to help those customers get the same ride and performance with these AT4s and Trail Bosses?
Well, so we'll be offering a leveling kit and then also our SST kit. And we've discovered that the leveling kit will be similar to our well-known 3085 kit. It's going to be a top and bottom spacer. It kind of splits the difference. You can't do it all on the bottom because what ends up happening is on the bottom, if you put too tall of a spacer, the bolts and the spacer itself will actually make massive contact to the CV boot, and it's in a full droop situation, maybe even going over a speed bump, you could potentially rip that boot
for damage.
Exactly, and we
can't
condone that.
We'll go small on the bottom.
Exactly.
And then we'll get the rest of
our
height
difference on the top.
But
now with that,
I was going to ask, what are we going to do about the arms?
Yep.
Because we just explained that there's going to be a problem.
Exactly. So we do have our arm that will go along with this, and it features our non-bonded, maintenance-free bushing that we include in all our control arms now, along with our proprietary ball joint that we've made just for the 19 GMs. We found that there is an actual certain taper, certain range, so that's what we've discovered, and that's what we've implemented on these control arms. And then, along with that, we got the upsweep, for clearance for tires, and keeping that same envelope as the factory is.
But how does that help this kit?
So, well, because of what I mentioned earlier about the control arm being kind of in a bind situation on a leveling kit, this has a corrected control arm, ball joint angle. It just corrects geometry in layman terms, we turn that ball joint and it won't pinch that ball joint boot.
Right. And it's serviceable, right? So we're not dealing with the arm replacement if something does fail.
That is correct.
Awesome. Okay, now SST.
So SST is very similar. To get the added lift though, instead of using the lower spacer, we've incorporated a preload spacer. So, but with that, we want to kind of control that tire. And that's what the preload's going to do.
It'll increase the damping a little bit, and keep that tire under control.
Of course.
And the SST will also do with arms?
Arms, yes, and along with a 3-inch cast iron factory style block in the rear and a foam stop extension.
So it'll be very similar to our 3940 on the non-Trail Boss kits as far as ride height, tire, wheel fitment, stuff like that. It's just going to be tailored for this longer strut on the Trail Boss and AT4.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So we've got our +2 kit installed here. You can't really see it, but the top spacer's in there. That gives us our added length that we were looking for. Here's the control arm we were talking about. You can see the ball joint's happy. That added angle really does benefit us here. It's safe. It's good to go. It's not going to bind. It's not going to rip. It's not going to tear. It won't pop out of joint. And again, for whatever reason, you've got 100,000 miles on these control arms. These ball joints are serviceable. They can be replaced. A little bit further down here on the strut, you can see we've got our preload installed. It's easy to install. The strut has to come out anyways for the control arms. And if you have your spring compressor, your one at home, it will suffice. Install that, no problem. There's one thing I'd like to mention though. I kind of brought up the bottom spacers, how they can be a little too tall and you get some collision on the CV boot, CV axle actually as well on the bolt down at the bottom here. Even with the factory configuration, it's close. It is really close, and you can imagine if you had any height more than what our leveling kit does, it's gonna just crash into that boot, potentially tear the clamp off, and that's a bad situation.
So in the 2019 GM 1500s, there is a difference between the Chevrolet and the GMC. You will get a little bit larger tire opportunity with the Chevrolet. What are we putting on this GMC, Trevor?
We've got a 305 5520, and it's wrapped in this beautiful Moto Metal wheel here. We have some issues that you might see that a lot of wheels nowadays don't fit on these 19s, and it's really from this simple casting.
This little rib here on the caliper, right?
And it hits the backside of the wheel if there's not the right offset, if it's not the right casting. But Dan's got our solution here.
Yeah, so a lot of these wheels, like Trevor was saying, the spokes will actually hit the inside of the bridge on the caliper. Most wheel companies are now addressing that because GM's just popular selling trucks. If you run into a situation where you already have a wheel and you want to run this configuration, you can add a 6mm wheel spacer like the one from our friends here at Gorilla. It just goes on and adds an extra 6mm of negative offset, which brings the back of that wheel out enough to clear this rib on the caliper. Alright, so to wrap it up, we have two new kits coming soon. We have a leveling kit with arms, and we have what we're going to call a +2, a Trail Boss +2 with arms that'll basically be equivalent to our 4-inch kit. Right. Now, if you're considering buying a Trail Boss or an AT4, these kits will be available very soon. So please be patient, please wait. You want to make sure you do this right. You want to get the right arms, the right lift, the right way. Right. To learn more about this, check out ReadyLIFT.com. As always, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.